Did you know that peppers are perennials, which means you don't have to replant them every single spring? You can take your pepper plants from the end of a growing season, overwinter them, and then replant those same exact plants out in the garden early next spring to get bigger and better harvests. Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to overwinter your pepper plants so that you can do just that. It's super simple, and it's going to save you a lot of money, first of all, from having to buy new pepper plants. You're not going to have to go through the whole seed starting process, and you're going to get bigger peppers from your plants. So let's get into the exact process of overwintering your pepper plants. So the very first thing is that you need to go through the proper steps of overwintering your pepper plant. You can't just leave it out in the garden. If you're in a tropical area that has really mild winters, then you're likely going to be able to just keep your pepper plant out in the garden all winter long and it will survive no problem. But if you're anywhere that has temperatures below 40 degrees throughout the winter, it's better if you can just dig it up and keep it somewhere safe. But the cool thing is that the pepper plants are going to be dormant, so you don't have to take care of them throughout the winter. You just need to keep them safe. So the very first thing that you need to do is harvest off all of the peppers from your plants and then trim off all the foliage. So you can see here, it's all trimmed up. I just have my main stem and this Y. And now I'm gonna dig up the plant and we're gonna repot it into its own pot. Okay, so now that we have this pepper plant potted in its own individual pot, that's really all that's required. But I wanna give you a few tips for what to do throughout the winter. So ideally, you just want to keep this plant dormant. You don't need to keep it surviving throughout the winter. You just want it to stay alive but dormant. So you want to keep it somewhere that's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You can water it maybe every 3 to 4 weeks, but it's better to underwater than overwater because remember, this plant is just dormant, so you can give it a little bit of water here and there, but it's really not going to require much. And it can be in an area that essentially receives little to no light. If it can receive a little bit of light, that's great. I'm going to be putting these in my greenhouse, so they're going to be getting light, but I'm not going to water them much. And if I notice that the plant kind of starts growing again, then I'm going to move it into a shed that's cooler, but receives just a little bit of light, but it'll be cooler than the greenhouse. So you just want them to kind of stay as is with no foliage, and you're going to just keep them like this. And then in early spring, you're going to adjust them back out into the light and the warmth, and then you're going to replant these out in the garden, and they're going to have such better production than that first season because they will be 2-year-old pepper plants. So just keep them somewhere with minimal light, just water every now and then. Be sure to check them for pests. That's the one thing you want to be sure of. You don't want these infested with pests over the winter. So before you go place them either in the garage or the greenhouse, wherever you plan on storing them for the winter, be sure to check the plant really carefully for pests. If you want to, you can just spray them with some neem oil as a preventative, or if there are some pests on there, that will kill them. And other than that, you should be good to go. Remember, if you're going to be bringing them inside, you might experience things like fungus gnats or other pests, and so you might not want those inside your house. So I would recommend putting them in a garage or a shed or outside in the greenhouse. I wouldn't put them in my kitchen. But if you need to bring them inside your house because that's the only option, you totally can do so, but just be extra careful about treating any pests or preventing the pests the best that you can. And then another fun way to preserve some other summer crops from your garden that may still be out in your garden right now in the fall is to preserve some of the clippings from your tomato plants. You can't quite do the same thing with tomato plants as you can with peppers. Tomato plants just get so much bigger and it's a bit more difficult than it is with a pepper plant. But what you can do with a tomato plant is take clippings and root them in water and then keep those seedlings alive throughout the winter to plant out in the spring. And I have this video right here that talks about rooting your own tomato clippings, so be sure to head to that video next. Do that, and so then you'll have pepper plants and tomato plants ready for spring planting. I'll see you there.